Let's see what we find.
Germany's coastlines are threatened by a new danger. More and more plastic waste is polluting the North Sea and the Baltic, as well as fishermen's catches, eventually landing up on our plates. The fishermen on the Baltic island of Fehmarn want to do something about it, so that they can continue to live off the sea in the future. Burgstaken Harbor in November. Fisherman Mike Hilger and his colleagues are gearing up for the winter fishing season. They want to hunt cod and collect all the rubbish that lands in their nets as bycatch. That's the only way they can get it out of the sea. Mike Hilger is itching to get going. He's missing his son, who usually helps him.
He's not here right now. He's at school. That's why we're going on our own right now. We're missing his manpower. That's not good, but we'll get through it.
The two old hands are helping collect the plastic waste.
It's a very new project. Every piece of rubbish that's not in the water is good for the environment.
But first they have to get the net and the rest of the equipment onto the spools. It's 300 meters long. Their counterparts from another boat, the Tumla, are helping too. Fisherman Frederik Otten and his captain Gunnar Gert Hansen have suffered engine damage as a result of refuse drifting in the water. A sailing yacht had lost its tarp. It got wrapped around the propeller and made everything seize up. But the fisherman sees even greater dangers.
Scientists have already said that this plastic waste will take hundreds of years to decompose. The problem is, because of the waves and the wind, it's decomposing faster than they thought into microscopic particles that are taken into the food chain like plankton. The toxins in the plastic will affect people because they eat the fish that eat the plastic.
Plastic waste seems harmless, but in truth it's polluting the sea. It's a threat to people too. Small sea animals eat the plastic soup, which can find its way into the fish and then onto our plates. A dramatic development. Most of the rubbish is deep on the sea floor. There are research plans, but first scientists have to get at the stuff. The fishermen are to help with that. Benjamin Schmöder from the fishing cooperative agreed immediately when the environmental organization Naturschutzbund suggested the project to him. He's learned to appreciate marine biologist Kim Detloff, who works for this environmental organization. Fishing for waste was Kim Detloff's idea. He's brought seaworthy rubbish bags to share out. Kim Detloff is happy that the island fishermen are supporting his project. They're the first in Germany to do so. The rubbish skip is somewhat away from the harbor. It's here that the fishermen will bring the waste they get from the bottom of the sea.
These are typical of the things we find. A disposable overall, which is used while working on board ships when they're doing sanding and painting, for example.
The law of the sea has banned waste disposal in the Baltic for 30 years.
This is a pilot project in the Baltic. That's why we don't know how much rubbish we'll get. But there's been a fishing for litter project in the North Sea since 2003. The fishermen have fished out more than 200 tons of litter since then.
Fisherman Roland Lütke, known as the Eel King, doesn't believe it's ever going to be quite so much in the Baltic.
They could put 3 skips there, but I doubt they'd ever get them filled. They want to fill the container every fortnight so that they can say, look, that's how much litter is in the sea. But that's not the case.
If we don't fill the container and we don't find any litter, then no one will be more pleased than me. But the fact is, we haven't fished for litter here before, but we do have protected areas on the island. We go in there and collect rubbish. Last year, we went out 3 times with 15 people and we got 500 kilograms of waste. That shows how much waste is in the sea, but it varies greatly from area to area.
It's all from the sea?
No, it's tourist litter too. We found a stunt kite and there's disposable cutlery.
By the way, are we in England or Germany?
Germany.
Then why does the campaign have an English name? Fishing for litter? We're in Germany.
We talked for a long time about that, but it's not an initiative we thought of. It already exists in the North Sea.
Yes, but we're in Germany. This has to stop.
We have a shared goal. We don't want this stuff in our oceans. You don't want it in your nets. We don't want it there for ecological reasons.
But many of the fishermen don't trust the marine ecologists. They've had negative experiences and feel like scapegoats.
They're pretending they're trying to help fishing. They're setting up these skips, and yet an affiliated group, Greenpeace, throws rocks into the sea to hinder fishermen. They start here. There's a line from Dahme to Staberhoek, and we can't fish in there. All these environmental organizations want that. We're not maliciously throwing rubbish into the sea. That's nonsense. But they always make out that fishermen are the worst people on the planet.
There's a lot of making up to do on both sides because of what's happened in recent years. There's a distrust between fishermen and conservationists, and I think both sides have made mistakes in the past.
Fisherman Gunnar Gant Hansen is tired of this argument. He finally wants to explore new avenues.
Gunnar was involved in the project right from the start, giving us his support.
Gunnar is interested to see how many colleagues will go along with it.
It used to be better, really.
A small island smokehouse in the town of Burg. Gunnar likes stopping by here on the way home from the harbor. It calms him. He loves the freshly smoked fish he caught himself. It's mid-December. It's been stormy for weeks. The larger boats are in the harbor. Only the smaller ones are out, including Roland Lütke, the eel king. They're getting their gill nets, which were on the sea floor overnight. They don't have that much trouble with litter because, unlike the big boats, they don't trawl their nets over the bottom. Roland Lütke isn't bothered by the weather.
The wind doesn't bother me, but since we had such a storm in the night, all the seagrass has been ripped off.
Litter, according to the gillnet fisherman, is something they used to have.
What litter are we supposed to have? We didn't have a single plastic bag in that. Natural litter, seagrass.
In the past, they had torpedoes and depth charges from the war in the net. But the stuff next to the pier isn't litter.
There ought to be fish in there, but unfortunately, it's just rubbish this time.
Fisherman Gunnar Gert Hansen is annoyed by the storm. He's only been able to go out 7 days so far, and only for short trawling trips. Few fish and a little bit of rubbish.
It's not that we don't want to, but because of the short trawling times and the areas we're in, there's not a lot going on at the moment.
It's mid-January, 5 o'clock in the morning. The stormy winter is threatening to destroy the season. But the storm is forecast to take a break today. Gunnar and his colleague Frederik are going out. Half an hour later, Captain Mike Hilger and his colleague Rainer Wietstock are heading out in the Andrea. Like Gunnar, they're heading for the Bay of Lübeck. They're avoiding the fishing grounds near the island. Gunnar and Frederik want to take advantage of the quiet day. The cod season is short. They have to fish their quota. They set up their trawl nets on the sea floor like a wide-open mouth, 20 meters wide. With the long net at the stern, the fisherman maneuvers carefully, watching out for old wrecks and bulky waste that his net could get tangled in. There's a lot of such debris in the Fehmarn Belt, one of the busiest shipping channels in the world.
This is the Fehmarn Belt, and you can see quite a lot lying around here. It's a bit more thinned out down here. We generally avoid the main shipping routes because we know that that's where there's the most litter. If the catches are fine elsewhere, then we avoid these areas because it's not worth us ripping our nets to get the same catch.
On his charts, he's marked 1,000 or so underwater obstacles around Fehmarn. Gunnar and Frederik have dragged the trawl net 20 kilometers over the sea floor. They've caught everything in its path. The captain's hoping for a lot of cod. There's not much of it on the market because of the storm, so it's fetching good prices. The traditional fishermen are also struggling with the high costs of fuel. The trip will only have been worth it if enough cod is in the net. The fishermen don't get any money for fishing litter. Gunnar's young colleague Frederik Otten is a bit skeptical. The Bay of Lübeck is considered clean. During the Cold War, it was a restricted area for a while, but they do have rotten bits of plastic in their net. This makes up the majority of marine waste, as Gunnar was told by Scottish counterparts who've been fishing for litter in the North Sea for quite a while now. Rubber boots are a frequent bycatch, but they're not the biggest thing he's had in his net.
I've had a car body with the engine, but we didn't pull that up on deck because it was so heavy, it destroyed our net. So it's on the sea floor now. We marked the position for our colleagues. It caused a lot of damage. We had no catch that day and had to repair our net, so that was very frustrating.
It's a big blow to traditional fishermen if they lose a net. A new one costs around 4,000 euros. Bits of paint pots can also ruin a catch. That's difficult for the smaller fishing operations to make up. We're back on Mike Hilger's boat, the Andrea.
Na Jungs, seid ihr fertig? Wollen wir mal nachgucken? Alles klar, dann machen wir sehen.
For newbie Devon, bringing up the net is still exciting. It's a good area. The fishermen have located promising schools. The seafloor is sandy and flat here. Skipper Mike Hilger believes that the litter collects elsewhere at the rocky edges.